I think people underestimate what's going on behind the scenes, and they underestimate the power their people have in order to keep them safe.
Hello, I'm Don Weatherall, your host of the F5 podcast, brought to you by Intercity. Today, I have the big privilege of being joined by Professor Deb Leary OBE. Welcome to the podcast, Deborah.
Thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you spending some time with us. So Deborah is the CEO of Forensic Pathways, an international company developing innovative products, software and consultancy in the criminal and business intelligence market. Deborah would love to hear about day one experience. Obviously, you created and invented the stepping plate, as seen on screen in some of your most favoured criminal dramas, like what have we got? We've got CSI New York and Silent Witness. We'd love to hear about your journey, your career, and how the stepping plate was born.
It's a bit long now, I'm getting old. It was a journey I didn't mean to take. Let's just put it like that. It goes back to 2001, and I'm not going to go year by year because we'll be here all day. But it goes back to 2001, and I've always been a PA administrator. I'd working in a school, a large school in Sutton Coldfield, and but I was doing my degree part time, English language and lit, and it was because it was part time. It was 5 years, and I got my first job coming up for teaching, which is what I wanted to do, and I got 3 weeks off before I started that new job. And my husband was in the police force in West Mids, and he was going to speak at a conference in Toronto. He said, you know what, why don't you come for a holiday? You've got 3 weeks before you start your new job. Come along and just go around Toronto and shop. So I went with him, but I got nosy and I thought, no, I'm going to go and see what this conference is all about. The keynote speaker was a guy called Dr. Henry Lee, and Henry was involved in the O.J. Simpson case, and he was talking about the mismanagement of the crime scene. And I started writing notes because it was very much focused on the story of what a crime scene looks like and how it's managed and the personalities and how it's read and the hypothesis that's put together. So I ended up writing a paper on the art of storytelling in investigation from that, bizarrely. But it was when I was in the bar where all the best ideas come. When you're in the bar, it's either the bar or the shower, isn't it?
I agree.
When I was in the bar, I overheard a conversation between two police officers, one from UK, one from Canada. And the one from the UK said at all major crime scenes we use a stepping plate. And the Canadian guy said, don't know what a stepping plate is. And for some bizarre reason, I scribbled down on the hotel notepaper, find out about stepping plate, stroke shoes. Found open market, set up company. My thought process, I think, at the time was, do my teaching job and flog some stepping plates on the side, make some extra money.
Do you still have that note? Have you framed it?
Yeah, I've got the note still.
When
we got back home, I said to my husband, you know, what's a stepping plate? And he said, you put them down so you can walk and work within the scene without contaminating it. So I said, well, can you get me a hold of one? And he sort of raised his eyebrows and thought, oh, what's she on now? And he arranged for me to go and pick one up from Bromford Lane Police Station. And I was expecting a scientific piece of equipment, and what I got was a reactive product. It was a reaction to a need rather than a proactive design. It was made from aluminium. You couldn't stack them. If you stood on them, you'd skid on laminate flooring. They were difficult to clean, but most importantly, you couldn't see the crime scene when you put them down. So I thought, well, there's bound to be another version. So I went onto Google, cranked up the internet on dial-up, told people to keep off the phone, and looked for a lightweight, transparent stepping plate, and basically there wasn't one. So there was a company in Liverpool who were exhibiting at that conference in Toronto. I went to see them, clutching a confidentiality agreement, and thought, they can make them, I'll take a royalty, happy days. They said no, they couldn't, because it was plastic injection moulding, and they introduced me to two guys from another company who were material specialists. So I had a very dodgy meeting on the junction 13 of the M6. These guys were into plastic and rubber, so it could have gone a different way. I could have made lots more money probably. But
I'm glad it worked out.
I'm glad it worked out in the right way. My mother's proud. I described what I wanted: lightweight stackables, rubber pads so you could peel them, put them on, take them off, so you could, work within the crime scene. they came back and said, oh, you know, it's going to be 250,000 for 3 tools. And I said, you've got to do better. And I sent them off. I said, I've got no money, but sort it out, lads. And in the meantime, I sent out a marketing flyer to every police force in the country with a mock-up stepping plate, piece of plastic and 4 screwing feet. Sent it out. It was horrendous marketing. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from police up in Scotland saying they wanted to buy 50. When they rang, I put them on hold and pretended I got a sales department. And I thought, I've got to be honest. So I just said, well, that's really great that you want to buy them, but they don't exist. And give me 18 months and I'll deliver. They did actually wait 18 months. And then 2 weeks after that, I got a call from the people who made the aluminium ones. And they said I was wasting my time. So that was the impetus I needed. And
100%.
And
the fact that they've called you, right?
Yeah,
it suggests that you're a threat.
Exactly. So I got a Smart Award to do a prototype. I then went to the bank and asked. The guys came back and said, tooling's now 60,000. Gave up teaching in about August 2002. Opened an office. I can't believe I signed for an office. I got no clients. I moved into that office in the December 2002, and the tooling arrived in the January 2003. And my first client was the National Police Training College. But that's how it started, but it wasn't ever going to be how it finished.
For sure. What I've picked up there, though, is, and I'd love to hear about your drive for innovation, but not letting the fundamentals and almost the practicality of how you're going to deliver it get in the way of driving that idea forward.
Yeah, I think when something's glaringly obvious, and when you've still got to do your research. I mean, although I've got a very high risk appetite, I still do my research. And you know, along that journey, you know, the plates. The one element about the plates, because it was polycarbonate, was that they flexed a little, and I had to design that flex out. And when we did that, it went wrong, and I got a market I couldn't service, so I had to start again. And now, I mean, it's years later. They take, you know, a significant weight. And,
so I could use it.
Oh gosh, I went to one police force, and they called a guy called Bill to come in. And Bill was a man mountain with size 14 feet. And I thought, they were really trying to test me.
Now, yeah.
No, they're fine.
Oh, great. You mentioned, obviously, the story never ended. So talk to me about, you know, the creation of Forensic Pathways and what that looks like now as a business.
Yeah, you know, obviously gone through this process of developing the plates. But for me, that was just one product. And you can't live by one product alone. You've got to continually keep having the Madonna effect and keep reinventing yourself almost. So it was really fortunate, and timing comes into things. Timing, opportunity, and taking action. So at that time when the stepping plates came out, it was the time when CSI New York and all those shows were coming, and all the kids wanted to be CSI people, and the universities hadn't got the skill base. They got the science, but not the process. So I recruited investigators to deliver courses to the universities so they could teach the kids. And then another example was, okay, what's the forensic market going to look like? And we got clues, and clues the universe talks to you, I believe. And I remember going to this police force to sell them the plates. And I walked into this guy's office, and his office was surrounded by boxes. And I said, you look like you're in a warehouse. I said, what's going on? He said, oh, don't even ask me. He said, procurement has spent thousands of pounds on digital cameras. And, you know, you're talking about probably 2005, something like that. And he said, who's going to use digital cameras? Nobody. So I said, well, I'll quote you for a digital forensic course. Not that I've got one, so I've got to find one and make one up. And that was the impetus, really, because I thought, well, we all thought by that time I got other people working in the company, including my son. That's where it's going. It's going to be about data. It's going to be about connectivity. So we started developing technologies around image analysis, mobile phone data, ballistics analysis. What happened then, and I would say it would be about 2007, 2008, was that corporates were coming to us and saying, you know, we've heard you're really good with data. can you start looking and doing due diligence and background investigations for us? We've got these data sets. Can you bring them together? Can you give us some intelligence? So from that time on, we started doing open source intel and fraud investigation due diligence. And then it came to 2016, and I said, we're doing all this open source intel, but what's going on the other side of the coin? What's going on with the dark web? So we started developing a platform called, at that time it was called Dark Search Engine, which has now become Clarify Eye. And that platform monitors the dark web 24/7. We set up alerts for clients so that they can know whether their data is being sold or anything, whether it's data, whether about their client base, their IP, and we monitor and alert them. Up to now, moving forward, in 2004, we've indexed around 65 million URLs. We can get behind capture on the dark web, so we can get into the marketplaces and the forums. We're currently monitoring, we would say, about 95% of the ransomware groups. And we can see who has been attacked via ransomware, who's been involved in that. And our latest thing that we haven't released yet is we can map those out and tell it by sectors and country. So it's come on a long way. Now, one of the things that I get asked about a lot is the fact that people say, well, hold on a minute, you're doing stepping plates here, due diligence there, cyber there. How does it all fit together? It's easy. It's all about people and behaviours. That's all it's about. It's nothing complicated. It's just people and behaviours.
That's when we talk about the human side of tech.
Yeah, exactly.
The technology is the enabler.
Yeah, but it's the people.
Exactly. So with the Chamber of Commerce and the United Nations Global Compact UK network, you'll have had loads of exposure to many, many different organisations. What do businesses, in your view, underestimate when it comes to cybersecurity?
I think they underestimate the importance of their people. I think they underestimate the other world that goes on that's beyond their comprehension. They think that the other world, i.e. the dark web, is somehow they're different people. They're the same people as you. They just find a different way of making money.
Mm-hmm. Some of these companies have HR departments.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, we did a large piece of work for Hewlett-Packard Wolf Security, with a big piece of research, and they've got arbitration networks. People can take their trust rating with them to different marketplaces and forums. I mean, this is a professional network. And I'm sure when people would, if they've never been on the dark web, will be very disappointed because it looks like Google really in another way. So I think people underestimate what's going on behind the scenes, and they underestimate the power their people have in order to keep them safe.
What are the common mistakes you think people are making then? Obviously, they're underestimating things, but what would you say is a common mistake? I
think the common mistake is that they probably talk about it in the boardroom and do nothing about it. And they think they don't understand the risk and reputational damage if it goes wrong. Mm-hmm. And also, if it does go wrong, the importance about the messaging.
Ownership at board level.
Yeah.
Not just passing it off to the IT team.
Oh, gosh. The amount of times somebody says to me, well, we'll put you in contact with the IT department. Please don't put me in IT. Mm-hmm. This is about board level representation. It's about risk and reputation. You spent all that time and effort and money and passion to build up your brand, and you're not protecting it in the right way, in the fundamental way.
AI has got a huge part, and it's such a broad topic. And we've chatted before about how many presentations I've been exposed to. Some are great, some are generic, some deliver the wrong level of understanding of AI to the audience. How do you see that playing its part in the cyber threat landscape?
Well, it's a race to the top, and the top never finishes, does it? Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing. But I mean, with us, with Clarify Eye, the platform, we've introduced AI into it. It's there. We wouldn't be without it. It's fantastic. It's pushing us forward far quicker and making new inroads into all the things that we want to do. But the criminals are doing that as well.
So Deb, when you were president of the Chamber of Commerce, how were you supporting businesses, and how do you continue as the scale-up director?
Working for the Chamber of Commerce was a great privilege. I enjoyed every minute of it. I ate far too many dinners, drank far too much wine. It was brilliant. But the key to that journey really was about in supporting businesses. It was about hearing the business voice. So it was going into the businesses, hearing about the challenges and the opportunities, and also feeding that back to the chamber to say these are some of the challenges that businesses have got. When we had lockdown and all the troubles that the restaurant and hospitality industry went through, it was about helping them get their voice heard and support them. And that's one of the benefits of being in the chamber, is having that voice. I really enjoyed it. It made me have a real good perspective on the challenges that business has in this region and beyond, really. So getting out to the businesses, hearing their voices and feeding that back.
We massively understand that at Intercity as well, being patrons of the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah.
Well, at Forensic Pathways, we're patrons of the Global Chamber, so, it's a valuable space to be in. It really is. Recently, I've been appointed as a scale-up director for Innovate Growth, UK Growth, which I operate out of the Chamber for that role. And that's a fascinating role. The point of that is people apply to the Scale Up programme, and they have to identify 3 challenges that is holding them back from scaling up. They've got to be turning over roughly $1 million. They've got to be in disruptive technologies. If they get through to the programme, then there are 40-odd scale-up directors across the country, all with the specialisms in the challenges that they've got. And those scale-up directors who are chosen to work with them for 12 to 18 months, no charge. Mm-hmm. It's like having a board that you can't afford, really.
Right.
And I think it's...
how powerful.
It's very, very powerful. But what's interesting about the programme is that it's not just about the person that's sitting in front of them as a scale-up director. The scale-up directors have all got networks. So it's about access to networks. And I think that's really powerful.
Deb, I'm going to end on one final question.
Yeah.
If you could see someone else on this podcast, someone that's inspired you or influenced you, who is it?
That's easy.
I love that. It's easy. It's great.
Well, apart from my family members who are just blooming awesome, and I wouldn't be without them because they get me through a lot of stuff, and they know their business world, my fellow director Ben included. The one person I do get in front of you is definitely Wendy Merricks. Wendy Merricks of Jumar. Her story is phenomenal. She's my role model as far as I'm concerned, and she's a true Brummer.
Amazing. Thank you, Deb. I've luckily had the privilege of witnessing one of Wendy's talks at a Chamber of Commerce event, so Wendy will be reaching out. So Deb, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Very, very grateful. It's been really interesting to hear about the Stepping Plate story, how that was born, and then your journey into the technical world of Forensic Pathways. Inspiring story, and the work and support you've given to the local community with the Chamber of Commerce is incredible as well. But thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Deb.